Hello and welcome. Welcome to another edition of Atlas Information Live. I'm your host, Atlas Alex, and today is a rather eventful day. At least it's eventful for me. um, Today, I get to show you all what I've been working on for what seems like forever. And in many ways, it has been forever. It's been literally decades in the making, if you can believe that. It's in many ways a kind of culmination, even though by no means is it necessarily in some kind of a final form. It too is just another step in a very long journey. It's just another level that we've reached, another milestone, as it were. Having said that, given the deadline that I've given myself, or rather I've been given, for October 4, that's 10/4, in direct relationship to the crowdfunding campaign, a 10 for Human 3.0. This video, which is not the campaign video, this is not the crowdfunding campaign video, this is a backgrounder. This is the explanation. This is the context for the eventual release of the crowdfunding video and the launch of the campaign itself. This is the case, if you will, not the pitch, but the case. The pitch comes later. This is just the context or the background. And one of the reasons why I'm sort of filling some air before we begin is because usually it takes a good number of minutes for the audience to fill in here. And I don't want to necessarily jump right into the premiere and then have people, joining halfway and then they miss the first part and all that kind of stuff. So having said that, if it's all right with you guys, I'd like to do a little bit of a technical test, because as you know, in the past, there have been some technical issues with me trying to show videos on the live stream. There's been issues with the audio. So I have set up in the backstage a number of different options. So one watching directly from YouTube, another one watching directly from the video file on my computer. And I would just like to play like the first 5 seconds and see if you guys can hear it. So let me see if I can do it. And the other thing too is I want to see how best we go about doing the presentation, because I don't think you necessarily need to see my face. I just think I'll go full screen. So let's see how that goes. Could you guys hear that? I can play it again if you missed it. I'm trying to get some feedback, but in case you missed it, let me play it again. Okay, Tiffany heard it. Okay, thanks, Tiffany. And hello, Tiffany. glad you could join us. Glad you could join us. So Azazel also gives me a resounding yes, and Tiffany's on Facebook and Azazel's on YouTube. So I've got confirmation from both platforms. So that's good. That's good. So while we're waiting then, now one of the things I'm going to be doing in the background, and for the rest of today, is I'd like to pick your brains, if that's the right expression, and get some feedback following the presentation. Now, I'm not going to stop the presentation halfway through. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to put them in the comments section. I will address everything at the end of the presentation. There's a bit of a flow to the whole thing. It is broken into 4 parts, but nonetheless, I just feel it's better to get through the whole thing in one go, and then we can have our discussion about it afterwards. And I've got my whiteboarding software poised and ready to go here, so we'll be able to take notes and all that good stuff. So, all right. So I've got YouTube always ready in the background just in case. So, some notes. Remember when I shared with you this PowerPoint presentation a while back? It was I think easily over an hour, if it was close to an hour, if not over an hour, and it did not contain all the information. It did not touch on all the information that the presentation you're going to watch contains. I said at that time that I have to get it under 5 minutes. That was a bit of an impossibility. That was a bit too ambitious. What I have is 4 videos that are each 5 minutes or less. So when you combine them and you strip away the intro and the outro from each, you end up with a single video that's about 17 and a half minutes. Now, if I could get that down to 15, that might be ideal. And if I get it down to 15 and 3 parts of 5 minutes each, that also might be ideal, especially because we're talking about Human 3.0. But as it stands, it's 4 parts and around 5 minutes each. But when you put them together into one presentation, you strip away all the superfluous introductions and so on and so forth, and you end up with 17 and a half minutes. It's not too bad, considering that I'm summarizing 10,000 years of religion, philosophy, psychology, and science, or at least the genuine scientific method and genuine creative process, the artistic process. And I'm essentially covering all of that in under 20 minutes in a fairly comprehensive, not complete. I'm not pretending that what you're about to watch is any kind of complete presentation, but it doesn't have to be. It's comprehensive in its scope, and it's the origin and the extent. So it's the broad scope, the umbrella, and the nucleus. And of course, there's all sorts of details to be filled in, but those details are for the viewer to go and begin to explore themselves. The point of this video is, it's not a hand-holding video. It's exactly as the video states at the beginning. Our purpose is to show, and the show must go on. It's hopefully a springboard, a catalyst, I don't know how inspiring it is, but maybe it's not inspiring in the traditional sense of, moving your heart and soul to take action, necessarily in that sort of beautiful spiritual guru type, rainbows and unicorns, having a spiritual awakening type of inspirational moment. But maybe it serves on the other side of love, not on the mercy side, but on the severity side. Maybe it's enough to give a good many people who are suffering and who are looking for answers the swift kick upside or backside that they need to shock them into the awareness that there is something else, and that something else is real. It's not tangible in any empirical sense in and of itself, but it has very tangible, pragmatic, and infinitely practical implications. That's the point of this presentation. And to touch on as many of the touch points that I do in order to make that case and to cover as much ground as I do in the limited time in which I have to do it was the real challenge. Because it's always easier to make something longer, right, and convoluted and you know, stuffed full of all kinds of superfluous information. It's something else to make something that's more focused and concentrated and concise, which, in all fairness, that's some of the feedback that I'll be looking for in our discussion and that is, if there's anything in here that you think might be superfluous, then might be unnecessary. I mean, there's a little bit of repetition. I mean, you'll see it, but it's not exactly repetition. And there's a little repetition to tie in the different sections, because as I said, this video, I'm showing it to you in one big piece, but the intention is to release it in little 5-minute chunks. So each section kind of begins with a very, very, very short little recap of how we got to that section or what we discussed in the previous section. So just to keep this flow and continuity going between the parts. But in any case, we're 15 minutes in. If anybody joins, I guess they're just going to have to pick up and watch with the rest of you. Again, you can leave comments, but I won't stop the video and I won't respond until the whole thing is done. Again, it's around 17 and a half minutes, and hopefully we won't have any glitches or problems. If we do, then we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. So, without further ado, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy, I guess. And we'll see you shortly. Here we go. Humanity has been in a state of binary duality for millennia. The human machine, being analog, has a degree of tolerance built into it, but mechanical nature's oscillation between opposite polarities, black and white, right or left, us and them, thesis and antitheses, tests the limit of our tolerance until it reaches its breaking point, where common sense and civility break down, and humanity, divided and conquered, falls into the hell of intolerance, isolation, confusion, conflict, and suffering. All legacy systems based on the binary human 2.0 paradigm are in need of a critical update to a state-of-the-art trinary operating system, that of triune human 3.0. A true human being is a triunity of hum, manas, and being. Hum relates to the body and brain of the third dimension. Manas suggests conscious heart-mind in the fifth dimension, and being refers to our true self, the consciousness, spirit, soul of the sixth dimension. United, these three elements constitute the triune self, tri meaning three, un meaning one, our true 3-in-1 nature, the spiritual nature of a 3-in-1 human being. Our spiritual nature pivots on the 0 point of our vital fourth dimensional energy, the creative fire and foundational forces behind the electric universe, and all we see and experience here on Earth. Our true human nature is meant to be on Earth as it is in heaven, as above, so below. In practice, the human condition below on Earth is dominated by the mechanical nature of egos that desire to exploit our vital energy and rule over us via the mechanical conditioning of binary duality, the unconscious oscillations in body and mind between identification and attachment, craving and aversion, pleasure and pain, etc., hypnotize our consciousness and make us ignorant of our innermost being. If we call the fifth dimension above X, the third dimension below Y, and the fourth dimension Z, then we can see how oscillations on the third and fifth dimensions exist as a spiral in the fourth dimension. Of particular concern are the downward spirals of explosion and implosion. An explosion in temptation can lead to an implosion through indulgence. It is through the duality of explosion and implosion on the downward spiral that egos drain us of our vitality, as it literally flows down and out. It is this downward flow of vital energy that is symbolized by tempting serpents throughout mythology. Be it the serpent in the Garden of Eden, or of those tormenting the Israelites in the desert, temptation leads to the fall of Adam and Eve and of Satan. That downward-oriented serpent is the tail of Satan, indicating the direction indulgence takes us in, represented by the fall of the Tower of Babel. In Revelation, Satan's number is 666, quote, the number of the beast and of a man, that brings about the fall into ignorance and hypnosis via the binary oscillations of ego and the downward spiral of 666. Beginning with our conscious heart-mind, which is to us as water is to a fish, but falls from the upper fifth dimension into the lower fifth, the hell of suffering caused by unconscious and subconscious ego heart-mind. Similarly, drained of our vitality, we become as a tree deprived of its soil, suffering physical and mental illness and premature mortality in our three-dimensional body and brain. It is our innermost being who is equipped to handle that suffering. But if instead we are being a Mark 666 human machine, we are, in truth, not being. We are merely a mechanical mind, body, and ego personality going through the motions, a beast marked 666 that suffers aimlessly in the wilderness, precisely because it has fallen into mechanicity and not being. To be or not to be, that is the question posed to us in Shakespeare's Hamlet. For we are asleep, fallen under the spell of the I of our false self. That is the universal condition of human 2.0. Human 2.0, Mark 666, has given rise to the Antichrist of the Book of Revelations, which is not an individual, but the scourge of modern materialist science, including the field of neuropsychology, a discipline that, in its dogmatic devotion to empiricism, remains blind to the actual causes of human suffering in the infernal dimensions. Just as materialist science, trapped beneath the glass ceiling of physical perception and mechanical thinking, remains ignorant of the true metaphysical science and higher dimensional foundations of reality, resulting in the narrow perspective of human 2.0. But even physics knows how narrow the band of visible spectrum of light is, and that three-dimensional reality is literally a matter of perception. Thanks to optics, everything from the camera obscura to camera and projector lenses, we know that the loss of a dimension in the act of projection creates an image with a fixed perspective that is less real. From the perspective of self-evident experiential knowledge, we know that no image of a place holds a candle to being there. In other words, a higher dimensional perspective affords us a deeper perception of reality. Materialist science refuses to acknowledge that it sees the world through the binary lens of ego, which, like photography and any mechanical process, results in reduced perception. The subjective machinations of mind creates delusions of knowing based on illusory perspectives. Egoic perspectives that look to assert and seek validation by projecting their two-dimensional theories onto three- and four-dimensional reality, conflicting not only with objective truth, but many other subjective perspectives. The conscious arts of metaphysical science seek deeper perceptions of reality, beyond the inverted fifth-dimensional mechanical delusions of ego consciousness, subconsciousness, and unconscious delusions of 3D reality, through the fourth and fifth dimensional worlds of formation, the sixth dimensional world of creation, where all experience of reality is created in consciousness and experienced by the being, all the way to the seventh dimension and beyond, where the archetypal basis of all reality exists in a state of pure, unformed essence, the undrafted blueprints of all phenomena experienced in the dimensions below. When we consider the gap separating human 2.0 from the true self and obscuring our conscious access to the creative human spirit, it becomes self-evident human 3.0 is the missing link. The arch and the arc we must seek to bridge the gap our binary mechanical nature has divided and conquered us with, used as the basis to hypnotize our consciousness via the eye of the false self and rule over our being and all of humanity. We can also clearly see the shift into unconsciousness that took place long ago in humanity that created more than just a gap, but a rift which cut human 2.0 off from direct experiential knowledge of the supernal worlds, meaning the rational hominid and ego personality knows only physical reality and the infernal dimensions of suffering. This is what is meant by humanity being cast out of Eden into the wilderness of suffering. Another in a series of ancient allegories that materialist science with its literal mechanical mind conveniently dismisses. Previously, we explained the metaphysical scientific basis for the biblical allegory in the book of Genesis in which humanity is said to have been cast out of paradise into the wilderness, much the same way Satan was cast out of paradise into hell. It is the hellish wilderness of individual and collective suffering that is all too familiar to human 2.0. Of exploitation and excuses as we externalize the causes of our suffering, which is the way of the fallen rational hominid, the animal ego of human 2.0. Fallen into despair, from depression to anxiety and everything in between, that we are fallen from grace, much like the fallen angels, into the matrix of mechanical binary duality. The matrix of unconscious, subconscious, ego, heart, mind that we were called by Carl Jung to make conscious lest it rule our life and we call it fate. The matrix of suffering that Jordan Peterson challenges us to voluntarily accept and then strive to overcome. For we are marked with the number of the adversary and the beast in our heart, mind, and body, which marks us as beastmen, a race of binary human 2.0 not being, shackled within the box of materialist science and neuropsychology. So how can we shift to being free of our binary dualism and mechanical shackles? We begin by being aware of and working with whatever free consciousness is available to us, embracing the metaphysical science of the fourth dimension and beyond, consciously applying the upward spirals of expansion and synthesis, such that an expansion of consciousness leads to a synthesis of what we seek. Inspiration and imagination, intuition and innovation, comprehension and reconciliation, holistic solutions, and universal truths. Self-evident experiential knowledge based on metaphysical science, harnessing zero-point energy to expand our free consciousness and synthesize what we seek. Upward progression on the Aum of life. The analogous ultimate methodology by which all phenomena come to be or not to be. To free ourselves from the prison of the infernal dimensions and know the supernal dimensions consciously, heaven and hell. This is Jacob's ladder that requires we descend to the next lower rung before we can ascend to the next higher rung, and why Carl Jung said no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down into hell. It is that tree of life traversed by the messengers of the gods, be it Ratatoskr or Hermes Mercury, whose staff is adorned with twin serpents intertwined, reminding us that while the serpent of the tree of knowledge of good and evil tempts our creative energies to flow down and out, to save the Israelites from the tempting serpents in the desert, Moses raised a serpent of brass upon his staff, indicating our creative energy should flow up an atom, Adam, just as Asclepius and Hermes Tot, Buddha and Anantashisha, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl, and the fiery phoenix, the Pentecostal fire atop the apostles' heads, and the halo about the heads of divine beings, the illuminated chakras, and the lit menorah. Speaking of the lit menorah, there are 3 candles in the center, 6 on the sides, and 9 in total, intimating the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9 Tesla told us would give us the key to the universe. Since we already know Human 2.0 to be marked as 666, to raise our faculties from 6s to 9s, we work with the Ulm of Life as triune human beings. 6 plus 3 is 9. The revolution of 369 begins by comprehending the interplay between the two, and that the intermediary is the number 3, the triunity that reconciles the illusion of binary duality. This is the state-of-the-art Human 3.0, an upright 9 in heart, mind, and body, so as to be a conscious triune human being, Hum, Manas, and Being. Previously, we explained the revolutionary power of the Ulm of Life and the secret of 369. 9 is 1 shy of a perfect 10, which is, of course, the reconciliation of 1 and 0. And to the Romans was an X, or a cross. That X is a symbol for a perfect vessel, like Noah's Ark resting atop Mount Ararat. A similarly shaped vessel known as the Holy Grail is also a symbol for the perfect union between masculine and feminine, and the covenant between God and man. Like the Ark and the sarcophagus of the pharaonic godmen of Egypt's Golden Age, said covenant between God and man is said to be hermetically sealed. The key to any ark is the arch, the Trinity, that can make one into a tri-God man, which is precisely the meaning of Hermes Trismegistus, also known as Tot, both of whom hold a staff as a prominent symbol associated with the source of their power, like all great magicians, from Moses to Gandalf. With Hermes, the circle atop the cross is formed by the serpents rising up the staff. With Tot, it is the Ankh, related to eternal life, and the continuity of life contained in DNA. A Human 3.0, suffering mechanical nature via the Ulm of Life, connects 3D body and brain through conscious heart-mind to their 6D being, who is the link to the 7D plus creator spirit, who art in heaven. They then direct their creative force up and in toward the art of being, so that they may be inspired and their creative energy ignited. Thus, a triune human being done via the state-of-the-art consciousness of their true self expresses through the focused cooperation of their mechanical nature the gifts of their innermost, brought into being on earth as it is in heaven. The rapid descent of the fire and light of inspiration and insight has always been allegorized by lightning, striking the earth from on high. It is the practical experience of Buddhists who receive insights in meditation, and is referred to directly in the Quran as the means of inspiration. In countless mythologies, be it Zeus or Odin, the All-Father who art in heaven, and of course Thor, who descends to earth and wields the lightning via the hammer of Mjolnir. Art and Thor become Arthur, and Mjolnir is Excalibur, the sword and the stone, related to the Lady of the Lake, the very symbol we see immortalized in the monogram of J.R.R. Tolkien, and within the universal symbol of the trident. These days, this symbol is most ubiquitous in our Bluetooth connections that allow many different devices to communicate. A symbol of the Christ connection to the Trinity and humanity, the Pax Romana, or Chi Rho, which appeared to Emperor Constantine by divine revelation to use to connect the whole of the Roman Empire. A Christian symbol adopted by Roman Catholicism as a means to give an XP boost to Europe amidst the Dark Ages. The Christic power of death and rebirth that gave rise to the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and the modern era. Not only a largely Catholic Europe, but a Christian world. It is the symbol of devout Christianity since the time of Christ, who said, "I will teach you to be fishers of men." It is the Alpha and the Omega, the rune Otala, which comes at last in the Futhark, the Alpha and Omega who art in heaven, who holds the key to the ark of the deliverance, via the state-of-the-art Alpha Human 3.0 at last. As above, so below. Conscious human arts at last. That is, Attlas Conscious Arts. This October, Attlas Conscious Arts is launching a crowdfunding campaign, a 10 for Human 3.0, to reach out to the movers, shakers, and decision makers and show them how to upgrade the legacy systems of binary Human 2.0 with the state-of-the-art trinary upgrade in support of Human 3.0, the true human being. Stay tuned for more information and how to be a part of the most significant advancement in humanity since the emergence of civilization itself. Well, there you have it. Well, as Azel said, a little repetition is necessary, otherwise there would be no rhythm. Well, I don't know how much rhythm there is. It's more staccato. Ba, 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 ba. It's relentless, right? There's a lot of information that's fired at you in a very short period of time. But remember, the goal here is to not just tell, but to show. And if the viewer feels a little overwhelmed, that's good. That's good, because that just goes to show that what the human 3.0 is capable of. As Azel says, you get used to the tempo after a while. And Benjamin offers some applause. Thank you, Benjamin. The other Benjamin says, that was wonderful. A lot of esoteric knowledge packed into 4 short videos. And Tiffany says, what input would be most helpful for you at this point in time? Whatever comes to you intuitively, whatever comes to your heart, whatever you think I need to know. Honestly, I'm completely open. No restrictions, Tiffany. Like, have at it. Don't worry about sparing my feelings or whatever, or anything like that. I mean, there is a rhyme or reason to a lot of the decisions that were made, obviously, but I'm open to suggestion here, and I've got my my whiteboard handy, so I can take notes, and in fact, I can actually share those notes as I'm taking them. Benjamin said that was definitely a thorough Z approach. A through on a that was definitely a through Z approach. Wow. Okay. Benjamin says, I think dramatic effect like music and dramatic narration would help boost its impact. Okay, so music and oops. Let's here add to stage. Yeah, okay. So we got some. Let's get some points going here. Music and drama. How's that? Yeah, too. As Azel said, at first I thought 3 parts would be enough until the end of part 4. It's funny you mention that, because if I can get the runtime down to 15 minutes, then 3 parts would work. But I would rather not make 3 parts that are like 7 minutes each or 8 minutes each. Like, I'd like each part to be 5 minutes, roughly. Right? Because that's the original thing that was given to me. And that's people's attention span these days. But 3 parts would be ideal, considering we're talking about Human 3.0. Azazel says, the end of part 3 got you reflecting in silence. Okay. Now, do you think, having seen each part, do you think that each part can stand alone on its own? Understanding that each one will have that intro. So at the beginning, we have this intro, right?
Triune Human 3.0 into it. But
Right?
mechanical nature's oscillation between opposite polarities, black and white, right or left, us and them,
So
thesis and antithesis.
I have this as part of each at the beginning of each part. Now that's stripped away for this version, because that would have been way too much unnecessary repetition, and it would have made the video like 4 minutes longer. It would have put it over 20 minutes. And then, of course, the other thing is that all the individual videos have a kind of outro talking about from here, right? Talking about the crowdfunding campaign. Wow, it's anyway. Yeah, here. So, but there's still 5 minutes, and then so they have a little bit of an intro and a little bit of an extra that ties it all together and explains what it's about. But the answer that I'm looking for, the question that I'm asking is, do the individual parts of the video, do you think they stand alone on their own? Or, like, anyway, so that's a question I'm just throwing out there. See if I can get an answer to that. Tiffany says, out of the gate, the visuals are superb. The graphics are going to be recognizable by most. And she says each part can stand alone. Yes. Okay. Now, keep in mind, Benjamin makes a comment here. I think 25 to 30 minutes would be nice as a TV program's shortest time span. So here it's right 17 and a half minutes, which means the ultimate version of this, because this is just a draft, basically, the ultimate version of this could be 5 parts. So the final part could be a 5-6 minute long video just focusing on the crowdfunding campaign. Who we are, what we're going to do, what we're going to use the money for, how much we're looking for, what are your rewards for donating, i.e. copies of my book, either digital or paperback or hard copy, how to go about making a donation and all that good stuff, right? Like, you have to actually have a crowdfunding video, a pitch. So in answer to this 25 to 30 minute video, I think that once I make that crowdfunding video, it'll not be 4 parts, but 5 parts. And that last part will be the actual pitch. The first 4 parts are the case, the background, the context, and then the actual pitch video, which will have a very short synopsis of the first 4 parts, because that particular video has to stand on its own. The 5-minute video has to be self-standing, and it has to give enough of an explanation to people, enough of a background that they would be at least interested in going to the website to learn more, or whatever, or to check out the campaign page, whatever form that may take. So your intuition here, Benjamin, is correct. So that 20-minute, but under 30 for sure. Like 30 is way past like the border. I like your 25-minute thinking, right? So, and he says, in a context for any other ideas you might want to include or things you left out. Well, I left a lot out. There's a lot I left out, actually. You guys saw this PowerPoint in its very rudimentary stages, in its original form, And when I first attempted to walk through it on the live stream, it took me like over an hour. The fact that it's now under 20 minutes is reduced by 66% the runtime, right? So, it's down to 33%. I think that's significant too, 1/3, right? Human 3.0 and it's 1/3. The number 3 keeps coming up, which is another reason why 3 parts would make a nice poetic thing. The thing about the 3 parts is that section on science really does nicely stand alone, right? The fact that it's all focused in on the metaphysical versus physical science, and all focusing on the dimensions and the way it's laid out, and it has a very clear beginning, middle, and an end, and a logical um, flow. And Tiffany says, I don't feel repetition was an issue. And she says, my first question, who are you wanting to initially see these? Anyone? Oh, but this version, only you guys. Only, like, this is not public yet. Only people with the link can watch it. I've shared it with a very select group of people, because this version is not, let's say, officially for public consumption yet. I plan to take whatever feedback I can get over the next 24, 48 hours, and then see where that takes me. Tiffany says, bravo on the under 20 minutes. Azazel says, could almost be 2 parts for the 2.0. And he says, and then you could have a 3rd part as the pitch. That's an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought. I'll have to mull that one over. Because then the first 2 parts go together. With the first 2 parts go together, and then the last 2 parts go together, and then like, as you say, then the pitch would be the 3rd part, and then that last part would be, so the first 2 parts would be under 10 minutes each, but I could make them 10 minutes, right? Well, actually, they would be roughly 10 minutes as it stands each, just under 10 minutes. So 9 and 9, that would work. And then the 3rd part would be somewhere in that 5-minute range. And then that would give you the whole thing that's under 25. The pitch would be 5, but then it would synthesize everything and then make the crowdfunding pitch, and that could work, and that would give you the 3 parts. Yeah, so that's considering that may be the way to go. So thanks for that, Azazel. And Azazel says, sounds good. I think this may be the way to go. And then the other thing too is that way, yeah. Tiffany says, geared toward everyone then. My feeling is that initially it will draw individuals who have some kind of sense of the language used, the gods mentioned, esoteric vocabulary, etc. As most of here know, the circle seems small, although it's growing. I tried to use, like, you will notice, okay, I did not use any terms from Kabbalah. I did not mention Kundalini. I didn't use the word Tantra. I did not even mention meditation or yoga. I tried to keep things on as much of a level of universal experience as possible. And the language, like for example, vitality, right? And yeah, I talk about, the creative force or the sexual force. And I talked about a little bit of, the electric universe or, 0 point energy, but these are not, you see, these are terms that reach out beyond the esoteric community. There's a vast, now, I'm not saying this is mainstream terminology, but I definitely wanted to be able to reach out and cast a very broad, wide net. And I did not want to give too many buzzwords that would turn people away. For example, the Christians, I did not want to mention, Kundalini or anything like that, because to many Christians, they think that Kundalini is demonic, that it's pagan, right? But everybody knows Thor, right? If for no other reason than the Marvel comic book movies, everybody knows Thor. Everybody knows Odin, Zeus, and I mean, people know Jesus. People know the Catholic Church and the Christian symbol of Pax Romana. That's non-negotiable. And the 666 and Satan. Everybody knows 666. Everybody's watched horror movies. Everybody knows what that means, whether they're religious or not, even if they're atheist. They understand what it means. They know these, like the serpent in the garden and the tail of Satan. So I try to use as many symbols that are universal and universally recognized. The trident is universally recognized. Everybody knows that Poseidon carries a trident and Neptune. Now, everybody in the East knows that Krishna carries a trident. So like Hindus, right? So there's a and things like the spiral, right? So Tiffany says, for example, I said Taurus the other day and had to explain it. We here absolutely understand what you speak of. That's the only thing that stood out to me. You see, I didn't use the word Taurus. I used the word spiral, right? The upward spiral and the downward spiral. Everybody knows what the downward spiral is. You see it every time you flush a toilet or you let the water down a drain. Or everybody has experienced the downward spiral, right? I tried, that the Alm of Life, my whole point is specifically to get away from the niche language that excludes people. Like you said, nobody knows what a Taurus is. People think, what you mean the bull? What, like the sign, the star sign, Taurus? No. It's like a donut. Everybody knows what the downward spiral is, Tiffany. Everybody's experienced it. Don't think for a second there is a man, woman, or child on this planet that hasn't experienced the downward spiral. Every adult who is of drinking age and has ever overdone it can relate to the photos that I showed about an explosion of temptation leading to an implosion of indulgence. Now, whether or not they can get it in such short period of time, that's debatable. And whether or not they would admit to it, that's also debatable. But then they're just lying to themselves. And if people are lying to themselves, they can't be helped. They can't be helped. If people are honest with themselves, everybody's experienced a downward spiral. Everyone. And the point of the upward spiral is the fact of getting them to think about the fact that anybody who has ever learned anything, accomplished anything, developed in any way, have done it only by virtue of the upward spirals, because there's no other way. That is the Alm of Life. That is how things come to be or not to be. There is no other way. That is the way. Whether people are aware of it or not, or whether they admit it to themselves or not, that's another issue, because they can be living in complete delusion. But people who are living in complete delusion, this isn't for them. Right? You're asking, who is it am I gearing this for? I'm not interested in casting pearls before swine. So if people are so asleep and they're so far gone that they cannot make certain connections, they cannot stop the video or rewatch the video or slow the video down and give it the careful consideration that it requires, then I'm sorry, they're not candidates for Human 3.0. They're never going to be Human 3.0. So I don't expect them to support a campaign in favor of Human 3.0. But the beauty is, I don't need them to. I don't need, right? Yeah, no, I agree. But considering the campaign is looking to raise about $250,000 at $10 each, that's 25,000 people. That's 25,000 out of 8 billion. I think we can find the 25,000. I don't think that's an astronomical number, right? You say that people are that asleep. Yeah, they may be that asleep, but a lot of them are on some level, they're not completely asleep. A lot of them on some level feel the urge, the longing to awaken, even if they're not very far along on their path. And there's a lot of people who have seen The Matrix. There's lots of people who talk about shadow work, and they know Jung and they know Jordan Peterson. These are familiar names to them, and everybody understands suffering. Everybody knows suffering. Everybody suffers. There's nobody who doesn't suffer, period. The people who don't know that they're suffering, they can't be helped. That's one of the first noble truths that the Buddha said. So the first noble truth is you have to know that you're suffering. and I agree. And I agree that people are so asleep that they don't even know that they're suffering. They don't know that they're ignorant. And they don't know that that ignorance causes them suffering. So yeah, no, I agree. I recognize that. But I also recognize that this presentation, the Aum of Life, the symbols that came to me, the rune Otala, the art and Thor and Isis, which I did not explicitly mention. I didn't get into the Divine Mother. I didn't get into the Divine Feminine. I stayed away from all of these potentially triggering or isolating or exclusionary terms. I tried to keep it as gender neutral as possible, where I did mention man, right, a couple times, so sure, I mentioned beast man. I didn't think I could get away with beast human or beast woman or beast them. Like there's no pronoun that works in there. So I took some liberties there, but nobody has problems with all the male bashing going around. Everybody's used to it on the right, and on the left, they enjoy it. So, I mean, but everything that's in this, like so many of the decisions were not mine to make. They were impressed upon me, the way to go about doing this. And so I have faith that it will reach many people who need to be reached, who see it, who need to see it. And it may connect with them, or they may connect with it in some small way. But if they connect with it enough to lend their support or to look further into it, because I have so much material, I have so much content, I have so many other videos related to this, and of course I have my book, which is the reward you get, instant download in PDF or EPUB format. And the EPUB goes directly into your e-reader. It's all completely formatted for e-readers. So if somebody decides to donate $10, bingo, instant ebook copy of What in Hell Is With Us. So if somebody does want, if they're intrigued and they're curious and they want to know more, throw us a 10 for Human 3.0, and you get a close to 400-page book that expands on everything that that we've been talking that is addressed in this in the video. Tiffany says, "Yeah, I was thinking about the Beast Man, but hey, look it up. Look it up. Beast Man? He was a character on Masters He-Man, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But it's a generic term. It's not. There's no specific. The number 666 in the Book of Revelations. It's the number of the beast and of a man. That's the point, right? That's No, I didn't take liberty with the phrase. No, I said there is no other way to say that. You can't say beast human because that's a lie. There's no such thing as a beast human. There's a beast hominid. And that just, I didn't take liberty with that phrase. That is what it is. What it is. It comes directly out of the Bible. 666, the number of the beast and of a man, and it's a man under the influence of the beast is a beast man, is a centaur. I'm not going to listen back, Tiffany. You misheard. Anyway, it's water under the bridge. It doesn't matter. Where are we? So the real challenge, there's a lot that ended up on the cutting room floor. And the real challenge was having to discern what stays and what goes. And also, organizing the order in which to make these parts, like the overall flow. The first two parts are the problem, and the last two parts are the solution. So I think I do like Azazil's recommendation of turning it into 2 10-minute videos instead of 4 5-minute videos. And then the third video will be the actual campaign pitch, which, if I'm self-indulgent, then maybe I can stretch that a little bit past 5 minutes. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But then it becomes also the 2 videos of 10 minutes each. Yes, it's related to Human 2.0, but it's also related to the pillars of Attlas, the pillars of love, severity, and mercy, because we're talking about the problem and the solution. And we could actually frame it that way. So, like, yeah. So I'll have to see how that unfolds, but that could work. And then that would make everything work, because then the 2 works, the 3 works, time is good. And if people don't have time to watch a 10-minute video, because I know what my good friend who's a designer will say. He will say people don't have the attention span to watch a 10-minute video. That's what he'll say. He said he'll say even 5 minutes is too long. But it's like, where do you draw the line? Right? This is not entertainment. This is not content. This is not for TikTok. It's not for Twitter. This is for individuals who aspire to something greater. So there needs to be a baseline, right? You can't cast pearls before swine, and you can't. Yes, you can make concessions and you can make compromises and you can do things cognizant of trying to include as many people as possible, but at some point you have to draw a line. You have to say that, okay, this is as far as we'll go. This is as low as we'll go. We can't stoop any lower than this. We can't compromise any more of our integrity, because at present, I don't feel that the integrity of anything is compromised. I feel that concessions have been made and that we have done this in a cognizant way, but you know, that's why I personally have no problems with a 10-minute long video or 2 10-minute videos. And I know what the feedback is going to be. I know what the reaction is going to be. It's going to be, people aren't going to watch it. The people aren't going to care. It's too long. People are busy, blah blah blah. But I'm not interested in people who are just looking for content, right? And I know of a channel called What Alt History. He makes videos that are on average 45 minutes to an hour in length. And he has 689,000 subscribers on his channel. And all he does is talks about history and sociology and anthropology and modern politics in the context of history. So these are big topics, they're deep topics, they're in no way, shape, or form does he dumb down any of his content, to the best of my knowledge anyway. It certainly doesn't seem dumbed down to me. And the pace at which he delivers now mind you, I listen on 1.5 times speed, so that's always a bit of a that's always a bit of a subjective thing. So everybody seems to talk fast on the internet when you watch things on 1.5 times speed. But in any case, so I know that there are plenty of people out there who are looking for something more in depth and something more valuable and something that's going to make them think, for lack of a better expression, something that's going to make them contemplate and reconsider their worldview. And, maybe a 10-minute video is too short. Maybe they won't take a 10-minute video seriously. But the benefit of turning it into a series is that you get a video that's 25 minutes or under half an hour, and then you get the little snippets, the 2 10-minute videos and a 5-minute video. So hopefully you kind of cover all your bases. Tiffany asks, what will the 250,000 crowdfund fund? It's going to fund staff, marketing and sales, actively reaching out, doing public relations, marketing, branding, and actively reaching out to influencers, to entrepreneurs, to individuals, angel investors and billionaires and people who have actively stated or publicly shown a interest in solutions and helping humanity and evolving humanity. There are people out there with tons of resources at their disposal, and they don't know what to do with it. They're seeking answers. They are seeking solutions, and they can't find them. And some of them are working with the best and brightest minds. There are people working on free energy and levitation and 4D vortex science, and there's all kinds of millionaires and billionaires who have invested in small teams of wacky basement dwelling Walter Russell, Nikolai Tesla wannabes, and they're working on this stuff. I know they are. But guess what? All that's great, but if you don't address the fundamental core issue of upgrading humanity's operating system from 2.0 to 3.0, then 4D vortex science is going to be catastrophic, because it's going to be like handing a fully loaded, forget fully loaded automatic weapon. It'll be like handing a phaser from Star Trek in the hands of a child, or it'll be like handing warp technology and phaser technology and photon torpedo technology to the military industrial complex. We have to address the underlying issue. So an example of one company that we're going to be reaching out to right away, and the board of directors, actually the shareholders, if we can actually get a something to the shareholders of Boeing, because Boeing is in big trouble, because McDonnell Douglas and Boeing merged, and they allowed the finance department of McDonnell Douglas to take over management of Boeing. And ever since then, their planes have been falling out of the sky. Literally, they've been falling apart, right? Held together with duct tape. Why is that? Well, because Boeing used to be the gold standard in safety in commercial airlines, commercial airplanes, and space, actually, all the other products. Why was it? Because their management used to be run by the engineers. Their senior management, their CEO, was always chosen from the engineering technology line of the company. But after the merger with McDonnell Douglas, the CEO was from the finance department. And that switch alone, okay, made Boeing more mechanical. The culture became the utmost mechanical. Profit and loss, ones and zeros. That's all they care about now. The engineers are told to shut up. Do it faster, quicker, cheaper. Why? Because the finance people run the corporation now. Whereas engineers, you see, they still have a foot in three-dimensional reality. They understand the laws of physics. They understand the laws of diminishing returns. They know what tolerances are. They deal with three-dimensional things. Finance guys don't deal with reality. They don't deal with three-dimensional things. You can barely call what they do two-dimensional. It is two-dimensional because it has a graph, right, that goes up and down. So you can plot the graph up and down, profit loss. Finance people live in two-dimensional reality. And they project onto the real world their profit loss statements and their risk analysis. And that's how they strategize in the world. So literally, what we're makers and decision makers, and show them. Literally what we're looking at is this slide. Okay? Let me make that bigger for you. Remember that? And here I was talking about materialist science that projects their two-dimensional theories onto the world. Well, the people who do this the worst are the finance people, because they literally think in two dimensions. They think in profit and loss. They think in those graphs, that line going up and down, up and down. And so that's what happened. The McDonnell Douglas finance people are now projecting their two-dimensional, egotistical, greed-driven, profit loss, totally materialistic view of reality, but it's missing a dimension. And they're projecting that onto 3D reality. And the engineers that actually live and work in 3D reality have been told to put up or shut up. And the result is planes fall from the sky. So now, this is a long and convoluted way to answer your question, Tiffany. How do I reach Boeing? How do I reach the upper management of Boeing, a multinational corporation, right? How do I reach them? And how long is it going to take? That's a full-time job for not just one person, but a team of people. I've been in business. I know how this goes. Sales and marketing and direct sales and getting to the right decision maker and being able to get in front of them and making your pitch. It's the most time-consuming and costly thing that there is. And I can't do this alone. I can't. I can't do it alone in my basement anymore, right? And just being a drain and a draw on everyone around me, right? I need a team. I need people to help to produce the material that's going to meet a minimum standard of professionalism that the people at those upper echelons have become accustomed to and expect to see. But in order for me to do that, I need to be able to pay individuals for their work. Because I'm not, you can't do this, as a part-time hobby or asking people to donate their time and their energy and this and that, because you're going to get what you pay for. I just know this from direct experience. Because remember, before I did this, for a solid 15, 20 years, I was an entrepreneur for hire, and I worked with entrepreneurs, and I worked with startup companies. I work with companies like IBM. I work with public companies, and it's a completely different, world out there than the world that we're doing here, what we're doing here on YouTube, right? So that's what the money is for, to get the help that I need and pay the right people the amount that they need to be able to do it full time, so they can leave. They might have to take a bit of a pay cut, but they're willing to do that because they see the potential and the potential to do something that they can put their heart and soul into it, and they can be proud of what they do. Like, they can really, it's a fulfilling thing. Attlas Conscious Arts and what we plan to do is a very fulfilling thing. And I know that once the ball starts to roll, all it takes is reaching one or two key individuals of the right caliber with the right resources, and we're off to the races. I know that. So, but it's just being able to get in front of them. That's what it's all about. Because I've been trying to do it part-time and, just forever. Like for the past 20 years. Because I wrote my first book over 15, 20 years ago. And it was completely secular, and it was all based around ESG, and I sent it to CEOs, and I sent it to movers and shakers, and I tried every trick in the book to get past the gatekeepers, and I couldn't do it. So, but I know someone who can, and I know someone who can and is willing to come on board to work full time, right? 8, 10, 12 hours a day, just doing the grind, working the channels, because they're a salesperson. They're a professional salesperson. I am not a professional salesperson. That's the bottom line, right? So she follows that up with, these videos are geared towards future investors then. Are these what a potential investor will see? No, not well. They might. I mean, if they see it, they see it, right? But no, these videos in here, these are geared toward someone who might be willing to donate $8-10, right? For the crowdfunding campaign. It's baby steps. I'm not at that level yet. I'm not thinking about the pitch to investors or, whoever, or to Boeing. I'm not there yet. I got to get there, right? At the step that I'm at now, this is the step. I've got a 10 for Human 3.0. The campaign's got to launch August 4th, or October 4th, which is the 10th month, 4th day. And I'm going to run it my plan is to run it until the end of the year. So 3 months. And see if we can raise the money. And however much we raise, that's what we raise. That's what I have to work with in 2025. And that's it. And then we take it from there. And from there, with whatever funds that I've raised, I have to see what talent I'm able to get and what help I'm able to get and for how long and to do what with, right? Because come hell or high water, we're moving forward on this, but I won't know exactly, the tactics and the actual strategy. I won't be able to do that until I have some idea of what my resources are that I have to work with and what the talent that I have to work with. And who knows, maybe in the course of the campaign, maybe more people will show up. Maybe people will show up and say, hey, I want to be involved in this in a more meaningful way. Who knows? Who knows? I'm open to anything, but I also don't want to have any expectations or project onto saying, oh, this is going to happen and it's going to happen this way. And this is exactly how it's going to roll out, because I don't have those answers. I only have the answers that I needed. I only have the information that I needed to get to this point and for the next 30 days to launch the campaign. And my full-time job over those 3 months is to continually put out videos and content and this and that to augment and support the campaign and to reach out to influencers and all that kind of stuff. The campaign is everything right now. There is nothing after the campaign yet. We'll jump off that bridge when we get to it, but there will be nothing to jump off of if the campaign fails, right? So it's focused. Everything is focused on the task at hand. A 10 for Human 3.0. A 10 for Human 3.0. That's it. I'm not asking for more than that. I don't think it's a lot to ask, right? For the future of humanity. I don't think it's a lot to ask. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you'll correct me. But some of the channels I watch on YouTube, there are people, regulars on those channels that regularly, every single week, will do super chats, 10, 20, 50, $100 for a live stream that talks about movies, right? Or science fiction or something. So asking somebody to donate $10 for the future of humanity, I don't think it's a lot to ask. I don't think it's a big ask. I might be wrong. I might be completely naive. I might be living on another planet right now. But there it is. Benjamin Ochoa says 2-dimensional and optical illusions. Yeah. Well, the beauty of this is that it is indisputable. Right? This is an objective fact. There is this fact, okay? You take a photo of something, 3-dimensional reality, what you are doing is eliminating a dimension. And once you take it, it's fixed. And even if you're taking a video and you're recording in real time, the perspective is fixed. It can only show, it is 100% deterministic. In other words, there is no free will involved, right? We're talking about the actual mechanisms of the optics now. We're not talking about the camera operator. We're not talking about the director of photography, right? We're talking about the actual physical laws, the mechanical laws at play. Is that the image of reality, once it passes through the focal point and it's projected onto a two-dimensional matrix, whether that's a film stock or the LCD panel in your phone or in the digital camera, it becomes two-dimensional and it's fixed. It can't change. Even if you're doing video, it's done. That's it. 25 frames per second. Boom, 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 boom. That's all. A video is an illusion. Film is an illusion. To use Benjamin's words here, film is an illusion. It's an optical illusion. Because you watch a movie and it looks like, oh, there's moving pictures there. There are no moving pictures there. There is no motion in movies. It's an illusion. There are 24 still photographs per second. And if you use a higher speed digital format, there can be 60 frames per second, 60 still images per second. That's what exists. That's what's real. 60 two-dimensional still images moving. And if you're going to one of those fandangled 3D shows that was shot in 3D, then it was shot with two different lenses at 30 frames or 60 frames per second, and then you go and you wear those glasses that flicker and alter and alternate and create the illusion of 3D. But there is no 3D there. It's just the optical illusion of 3D. But there's no such thing as moving pictures, right? Actually, technically, literally, that's exactly what they're doing. There are 24 pictures moving through the projector. But the images themselves do not move. They do not change. They are fixed. You remove a dimension from the equation in the processing of perception, and it becomes fixed. Now, the implication of this from the standpoint of ego mind and human 2.0 is that when the rational mind processes what it sees and what it hears, its experience, then it's creating a fixed two-dimensional image that's fixed. And we wonder why people become so obsessed over their beliefs, and they suffer from cognitive dissonance, and they can't change their thinking. They can't change their mind. It's like what they believe is burned or etched or permanently imprinted on them. Well, of course, because what else do you want the rational mind to do? What else do you want mechanical mind to do? It can't do anything else. It can't. In the same way that a camera can do nothing but record permanently onto each frame, and that's it. This has profound implications. If any neurologist or psychologist spends one iota of time meditating, contemplating on what I'm showing here, they will understand and they will comprehend that the vast majority of humanity is being run with a completely inferior operating system. We are trying to solve complex issues, political, theological, philosophical, cultural, gender, emotional issues with what amounts to a really complex toaster. This is the terror of the situation that Gurdjieff talked about. This is the nightmare scenario that this humanity is in. We are viewing the world through those what they were called. What was that toy called in the 70s? Um, you look through it and you put in the discs with the things and you, what the hell was that called? I can't remember the name. It's not coming to me. Somebody will tell me what it was. Was that it? Was it called viewfinders? Is that what it was called? But that's what we're looking through the world through. Yeah, Tiffany says the same thing. There was viewfinders. That is how limited humanity's understanding of the world is. And the younger generations are so completely screwed. Why? Because all of their relationships are through this GD thing here. Of course, it's Plato's allegory of the cave. Of course it is. Of course it is. But I've just taken it a step further, and say we are the cave. The cave is in here. And shadows on cave walls made sense to people in Plato's time. But cameras and lenses and images and that makes sense to people in today's time, which is why Benjamin says he thinks that I did a better job of explaining it. Well, I didn't do a better job of explaining it. It's the same explanation. It's just, but the other important part of this explanation is the all important 0 point. Okay, the focal point. And how each dimension unfolds through the 0 point, which is why it's not immediately perceptible in the dimension that we are in. Right? But this is all this is each reality projecting itself, and in the loss of every dimension going down, you get a crystallization, you get something that is more fixed, in other words, more crystallized, but is less real. This is like mind-blowing shit. The rational mind can't work that one out. Okay? Because how is a blueprint more real than the house that I built from it? You see? Because the rational mind is coming at it from the wrong direction. It's coming at it from the point of view of mechanicity and empiricism and materialism. For the rational mind, the house is real. The blueprint is just an idea. It's nothing. It's just a concept. It doesn't exist. It's just this floaty thing out there somewhere. No. There is an actual blueprint of that house that exists in the supernal worlds, else it could not exist. Oh, Benjamin. Oh, thanks, Benjamin. Benjamin says it's apropos with the Penrose triangle scientist trying to figure out how to see the fourth dimension. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with the Penrose triangle scientist. trying to figure out how to see the fourth dimension, but I'll look into it, and then maybe I'll have a better idea what you're speaking of. And I also missed this comment from Tiffany. She says, there's a huge potential. Yes. I want to make sure whoever of influence seeing these understands what the upgrade actually is, why they'd want that for others, and why they'd want this for themselves. Yeah, so again, this is not on that level yet, so I don't think you have to worry about that necessarily. This is at the level that it's at. And sure, if one of them sees it and it speaks to them, then by all means, you know. If it's not self-evident at this point, it will be. But you're right, we have to make it so. But when you ask this question, or you say you want to be sure that the people of influence seeing this understands what the upgrade actually is, we have to make that case in the context of what they care about. I can't know what they care about without speaking to them, without asking them, without listening to them. As much as this may come as a surprise, right? Communication is 90% listening. And for the years that I did consulting work, I do what's called needs-based consulting. You begin with a needs analysis. It's the same thing that any good psychoanalyst does, is it sits the person down and asks questions. And it's basically a process of psychoanalysis and stripping away all the superfluous beliefs and BS and getting into the heart of who they are and what they really long for, what really moves them, and what is their heart's deepest longing that they are not able to achieve, and what's blocking them, what's preventing that. And how do we get around that? How do we get over that? Or how do we break down those barriers? And how do we do that together? Right? So that's a very lengthy, involved process. It's not a question of, knocking on someone's door and giving them something that is immediately going to speak to them and say, oh my God, my world has changed. Quick, call these people up and throw money at them. It never happens. It doesn't happen that way. Those people are in the position that they're in, not because they know how to spend money, but because they know how not to spend it. And they are in the position that they are in, and they work with the people that they work with. They only work with very select people. So that process, and the world revolves around them, let's face it, right? They've just grown accustomed to that. So, the customer is always right. Well, if it's true at Kmart, and it was true at Kmart for the 8 years part-time that I worked there back in the 80s and 90s, if it was true at Kmart, then you can be damn sure it's true for Boeing or multinational corporations or governments or leaders or party leaders or organizational leaders or millionaires or billionaires, investors, you name it. It's going to be 10 times more true for them than it was just for the person yelling and screaming at me over a 99-cent pair of rubber flip-flops. Because it happened. That's a true story. So I know what I'm in for. I know what I'm getting into. And I know that I can't do it alone, and I can't bootstrap it. It's impossible. It's impossible. We're talking about sales cycles that could go 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, easily, because of how busy these people are, even getting an appointment, even having a phone call or a Zoom call with these people's schedules and everything else. It's just, right? It's going to take time, and it's going to take resources, and it's going to take help, and and of course, it's going to take a great deal of care and focused attention and concentration in customizing the message to them, their organization, what they're looking for in life, what matters to them. So it speaks directly to their soul. This, as a campaign, is a broad brush stroke, right? Because of the nature of a crowdfunding campaign. You're trying to get a crowd, not everybody, But anyway, a crowd, right? That's the point. Sales is something different. So let's see, where are we at here? Viewfinder, okay, allegory of the cave, explain it better. Okay, yeah. Or he says, or maybe I would like to think so. No, I did miss your comment, but I answered it. Azazel says, could be worthwhile mentioning that it will be different to what we're used to. So their level is not our level. It could be worthwhile remembering. Could be worthwhile mentioning that it will be different to what we're used to. So their level is not our level. It could be worthwhile remembering. I may need you to elaborate on that. I'm not, because we've been talking around many different topics. Are you suggesting that the presentation is going to be not what you're used to? Because I kind of made an attempt to do that at the beginning. I put this disclaimer at the beginning for that very reason. I don't have a very good control over the, maybe I can do it with my, no, it won't let me do that. I can't get it to jump 2 seconds forward. There we go. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I hear what you're saying, and there will be an aspect to that, but you don't put that in the outreach, or you show that, you don't tell that, but you show that in a way where it's still accessible, where it's you tease that, in other words, if that makes any sense, right? You have to intrigue these people and give them something interesting and new and different, in the sense of you've broken up their day and that it's memorable. So they remember seeing you or touching the thing that you sent them. I'll give you an example. Yeah, okay. So I'll give you an example. I once met someone. Now, he was in investment banking or in insurance or something like that. He's working for one of the big banks in Canada, and he wanted to have an informational interview with the CFO, or the head of the trading desk at another bank. So you know what he did? He took a package. He bought a package of 6 white tube socks. Like white men's sports socks. A package of 6. They come in a big puffy package of plastic. And he took his letter, his cover letter, and his resume, and he buried it inside the package. And on the package, he put one whole piece of paper, and it just said, I'm going to knock your socks off. And he put it in a, he wrapped it. He wrapped it very nicely, and he put string around it. He tied a bow, and he hand wrote that letter. I'm going to knock your socks off. And he hand delivered it to the executive's office and gave it to his receptionist. Didn't say a word. Just said, this is for Mr. So-and-so. Could you see that he gets it? Thank you. And he got a phone call. Because number one, the receptionist could feel that there was something, it was a package, right? It wasn't a letter. It wasn't a FedEx. It wasn't a, he didn't say that, oh, there's my resume in there. It wasn't a resume. It wasn't a job application. It was a gift. It was clearly some kind of a gift. And she couldn't discern what it was. And if she shook it, she couldn't tell what it was. And so clearly it made an impression on the executive. It was a package of socks. Like, who buys you socks? Like, it was clever, it was imaginative, it was risky, but it was memorable. It was memorable. It was different. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be sending packages of socks to people. That's doesn't seem right for for what I'm doing. But I tell the story because of the ambiance around it, the context, right, of what I think you're saying. But but there is something else to be said for, you know, emotional selling, right? If you make someone laugh, they're going to remember you and they're going to like you. So if there's something endearing for the types of people that we're going to be reaching out to, there is a profile of the kinds of people and companies and so on that we're going to be reaching out to. And part of that profile includes people with heart, or at least as best as we can tell from our perspective and their public persona, they exude, they project a public persona that they have heart and that they care. So if you can move someone like that in some way, then that will for them be memorable. But you have to move them. You have to know what moves them, and do so in a very gentle but decisive way. And what you do has to be, through and through, it has to be about integrity. So there has to be a through line and a connection between what you say and what you do and how you do it. So if there's one thing that you all know about me, is that I do everything with intensity. I do everything definitively, decisively, and yeah, again, with that intensity and integrity. I say what I do what I say. And sometimes timing is an issue around when things get done. And when originally I thought that this campaign would be ready for August 10th. Life and the universe had other plans. But as it stands, here's another consideration to make, and that is I didn't spend much time in what you've seen so far talking about reconciliation. It's mentioned, it's intimated at several times, but it's not really a focus. And that's because once the campaign launches in October, there's going to be an opportunity to do a video or a series of videos specifically focused and targeting reconciliation and bridging bridging divides, bridging gaps, because we're going to be knee deep in an election in the United States. And passions will be high, and the rhetoric, who knows what it's going to be like. Donald Trump, the Robert Kennedy, RFK, decided to back Trump. RFK bowed out of the race, and he decided to throw his support behind Trump. This is being played in certain circles as a great move of leadership and of reconciliation and of bridging divides and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So as we approach election day in November, it may only make sense that we keep our ear to the ground and gauge what things are happening in the United States in that election. And if the rhetoric is getting really divisive and really, full of a lot of negativity and antagonizing rhetoric, then we can introduce Atlas Conscious Arts and have a lot of material, right? Including, I have slides. Like, what's one of the reasons why I do this the way I do it with the software that I use it, because I can take slides and I can move them around and I can reorganize relatively easily. I can edit and change, once you've got the basics, and then so I can repurpose, and I have slides from other presentations and I can repurpose them to make a reconciliation focused presentation, a video focused on reconciliation, encouraging people in the United States to get on board and start acting like human 3.0. Even if your neighbors or the people on the other side of the aisle or whoever in the media and everybody else is throwing shade and it's all the same old rhetoric of division, you can be an example. And if you want, you can also give a 10 for conscious arts, give a 10 for human 3.0. Because what's happening, what's going to happen in the United States if either side or both sides contest the outcome? People are talking, people in the States are talking civil war and all kinds of nonsense. Like, look at the violence that's happening in France and in England right now, and in Great Britain. Azazel, okay. Azazel says, my mouse just went to sleep, so I didn't get it. Intensity is always good. If it is balanced with integrity, there's really nothing that can hold you down. Yeah, agreed. But some people don't like intensity. Some people, it rubs them the wrong way. So it depends on the situation, the circumstances. I got to dial it right back down, right? That's something that took me years and years and years to practice and to get a hold of myself that way. And of course, there's the other issue, but let's not get into the other issue now. But Tiffany's got more comments here. She says, can you speak a bit to the portion of the video when you spoke about the solution? What would you like for people to get from the portion of the video, from this portion of the video? Let's see. So if we're talking about the matrix, so this is more of the problem, really. And then being free. Okay, so the first part is obviously you have to reverse the circumstance. So if part of the problem is that you're trapped in 3D world and in the infernal worlds, right? You're a 666, you got to make yourself a 999. Well, you do that by embracing the alm of life and working with the upward spirals, right? That maybe I should just open up the PowerPoint. That might be easier. Of expansion and synthesis, instead of getting stuck on the downward spiral. And working with your free consciousness, and you work with the energy moving up and in as opposed to down and out. And then your upward spirals, working as a human 3.0, and then there's the alm of life. You expand your consciousness and synthesize what you seek. So what do I want people to take away from it? Really, at the end of the day, it's I guess it's what's in the final slide here, right? Remember that this presentation doesn't promise to have all the answers, right? It's like a signpost pointing in the direction of a city. It tells you the direction to go in. That's all it does. And then this was part 3, and then part 4. Again, there's a lot in here, but the main important slide is this one. It's the one that goes step by step, how directing the creative force towards essentially the inner artist in order to be able to manifest on earth that which art in heaven. Oh, I guess that's what's covering it. Maybe if I can put it back. Can you guys see that? Okay. Right? This is really the key takeaway slide from the point of view of human 3.0. You get your mechanical nature working in alignment with your divine nature. And this is the art of being. You become a conscious art on earth as it is in heaven. Who art in heaven? And Tiffany asks, oh, does Atlas Conscious Arts have a mission statement yet? No, I haven't articulated one yet. And she says, the US, my plan is to own a boat before November. Is that true? You're going to buy a boat before November? Okay. No, you know what? I'm going to be working, now that this video is more or less done or close to being done, and I can start releasing it over the next few weeks, like the different parts and so on. Or I'll just release it all at once and just, spend the next few weeks getting it around. Then I have to do the campaign video, but I also have to do the website for Atlas Conscious Arts. I have the URL, atlas.ca. And so this question will have to be answered, a vision statement and a mission statement for Atlas Conscious Arts. I just haven't put it into words. I know what it is, but I haven't articulated it yet. Keeping in mind that this thing has existed since I was 15 years old in one form or another. And my personal motto has always been this. This is my personal motto. This is the motto not of me. This is if I can get the bloody thing to work. Well, it just doesn't want to. It doesn't want to let me. I should maybe try a different tactic. Anyway, you know what? I get a better idea. Here. You guys can read that, right? Let's go back. I seek to show, and the show must go on. This is Atlas's motto. So this is like my personal mission statement. So Atlas Conscious Arts can't help but be some version of that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is a really, really rough this is just like a first run at this that I took months ago for Atlas Conscious Arts, right? And it reads, the human spirit shines despite an ominous cloud. And will binary thinking sow division and strip us of our humanity? As mediocrities play the zero-sum game, pumping soylent green into hungry ghosts in need of soul food? Or will humanity upgrade to a trinary vision of conscious arts? I hadn't even come up with Human 3.0 yet. But this is like the beginnings, right? And we have eight, and that like when I made this, it was, it was A10 for conscious arts. And but I got the lightning there in the background. Some of these need to change, these images, and they're not working properly right now. The scroll, is all screwed up. It's covering the text. But yeah, so we've got some stuff to work with, and I'll be working on it. So, we'll see how this unfolds. I guess the bottom line here is that, this is another change that I have to consider. I personally, I don't want Atlas Conscious Arts. I don't want to bog Atlas Conscious Arts down with being a content generation company, if that makes any sense. So Atlas Information and Atlas Alux will stay the same, and this channel, I think, will stay the same, and I think that this will be the outlet. But I don't think I want to start another social media page and another YouTube channel and another thing, because that's not the point, right? That's not the point of Atlas Conscious Arts, right? PricewaterhouseCoopers, as a consulting firm, they don't have a YouTube channel. They don't make YouTube videos. That's not their business. And even though that is something that I do as Atlas Alux, that can't be the primary focus and push of Atlas Conscious Arts, at least not in its present incarnation. It needs to focus on what it needs to focus on. In other words, fishing for fishermen. So in order to get there, we have to do this crowdfunding campaign, and I have to do this content generation, these videos, and so on and so forth, because we're crowdfunding. But once that's done and we get to the next level and we get to the doing what we're actually doing, then I'm not sure how much of, I want to be doing branded Atlas Conscious Arts content. Rather, I would just rather keep Atlas Alex and Atlas Information as the outlet to talk about what we're doing, right? I don't know what you guys think about that, but I personally am up to here already with social media and all that kind of stuff, and making videos and everything else. If I got to now deal with another brand and branded content and now copying everything and pasting everything and like having a blog for Atlas Conscious Arts and then having content over here and over there and everywhere, it's going to be too much. When am I going to actually be able to do the work of helping investors, business owners, multinational corporations, world leaders, the people that actually need to be helped and actually need to be counseled and reach? When am I going to actually do that if I'm going to be up to here with content creation, right? So, but again, we'll see how it all unfolds. I don't know. It is going to be what it's going to be, and I got to do what I got to do, and I don't know yet. It may be that I have to give up Atlas Information and just switch it over and start calling it Atlas Conscious Arts. That might be how it unfolds. That as soon as we start the campaign, why not switch all the branding over to Atlas Conscious Arts? That Atlas Information, it was in formation for a good solid decade, well, more than that. But I mean, certainly the Atlas project was before that, but then Atlas Information as a blog and everything really started like when I was in my late 30s, early 40s. So it's been around for like 12, 14 years, something like that. So maybe it's had its day. And maybe Atlas Information, maybe it's no longer in formation. Now it's just Atlas Conscious Arts, which is what it was always supposed to be, Atlas Arts, from when I was 15 years old. Well, maybe it's that now, and maybe I just switch it over to that. And just from now on, everything I do going forward is going to be Atlas Conscious Arts instead of Atlas Information. The difference is, though, is that I'm not finished, right? And so I'm still in formation. And Atlas Conscious Arts is still in formation. It hasn't even begun its formation yet, right? Which is why I always loved information. And the other reason why Atlas Information works is because it's the place to go to get information about the Atlas project, including Atlas Conscious Arts and a 10 for Human 3.0, right? So I always kind of saw it that way, where I, as an individual, am kind of like my own public relations firm or my own communications firm, or it's just me talking about what I'm doing. It's kind of like Jordan Peterson is a brand, right? And he has his channel and he writes his books and he does his thing, but he's also involved in this university and he's involved in these other businesses, but he doesn't have separate channels for those, right? So anyway, these are some of the real world issues that that need to be tackled. Azazel says, "I'm heading to bed. Thank you all for today. Sorry to be putting you to sleep, Azazel. I know it was not a real esoteric talk today. It was rubber meets the road kind of speaking today. I mean, sometimes we got to do that, right? Sometimes we got to just live in the IKEA store and talk about how do we put the furniture together. I mean, like, it's just, Tiffany asks, what do you need between now and October 4th? Time. And when, when the video is finalized and in whatever format, And Azazel says, I would have gone to bed anyway. Okay, have a good sleep. Benjamin says, sleep well, Azazel. And in answer to your question, Tiffany, when the video is ready, to share it. I would like to get the message of a 10 for Human 3.0. I would like to make the case and get it in front of as many influencers, YouTube channels, comment sections on videos that are like-minded topics or whatever, like-minded individuals. And if I can recruit as many people as I possibly can to be doing that work all throughout, leading up to October and throughout the campaign, actually. Every time there's a new video out or whatever, or a new blog article or a new meme or whatever, to and then I'm hopefully a friend of mine will help me make some social media rings that you can add to your social media. So it's like it'll be hashtag a 10 for Human 3.0. And if we can get that hashtag trending and all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of help that I'd be looking for leading up to and over the course of the campaign. It's this nuts and bolts stuff. It's the real world rubber meets the road kind of stuff, when it's just a matter of statistics and it's just a matter of numbers. And I'm sure that you follow people that I don't follow, and you're parts of groups that I'm not a part of on Instagram or another, or you watch certain people on YouTube that you have an affinity for and you think might be interested or might be willing to share the video with their followers or something like that. It's all networking, right? It's all a numbers game, right? They told two friends and they told two friends and so on and so on. And the possibility that I'm not expecting anything to go viral, don't get me wrong, but the more people who are talking about and sharing and so on, the more eyeballs might potentially see, and the more there's a chance that people will ante up $10 for an e-copy of the book, if nothing else, right? The Kindle version, I think, is $20 or 15. Is it 15 or $20 for the Kindle version at Amazon? So you save $5 and you get it right away. Just get an EPUB format. I don't know. I've tried to think as down to earth as I can, but Tiffany also says that she's excited. Well, thank you for that. I didn't sleep so much or very well last night, so I don't know about how excited I am right now in this moment. I don't know if I can muster up that kind of energy, but this has been a long time coming. So I'm more relieved than anything else. This video has been the kind of work that it really took a toll on me, because that I have to deal with my own adversary, and that particular adversary did not want me to, or did not seem to want me to, make progress, especially in August. I spent 3 out of 4 weeks clinically depressed in August. I lost 3 weeks of productivity in August, and it was just terrible. It was horrible. And there was a lot that I had to overcome and face and work through to get as far as I have. And so even though there's still a month of work left before the campaign launches, and there's going to be 3 months of work after that, I still see the starting line or the finish line, depending on how every finish line is a new starting line. So for me, the 4th of October is a finish line, and then it's a starting line. But because I can see that finish line now, and because I know that I'm not going to come up short, that I'm going to be prepared, so I'm a bit relieved. More relieved than excited then. And also, August taught me this, and probably this may be our topic for next week. We'll see how it goes. And Tiffany says, agreed, it's been a trying year full of groovy-ish tests. For me, August was, if I'm correct, then part of the reason why I was so suffering from such depression in August is of my own doing, that I actually was my own worst enemy, and I was setting myself up. And I'll know for sure in a week's time or a couple weeks' time if that's the case. And then, so maybe I'll wait until I know for sure. But it was all learning, and all I can tell you is I'm no longer going to be allow myself to be driven with the same level of intensity to meet this deadline and get that finish. I know I'm going to make it, no problems. I know I'm going to finish the website. I know everything that needs to be done is going to get done. And Tiffany asked, how did you set yourself up? Well, I set myself up by overdoing it and going too intense. It was yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's okay. That's okay. We're on the same wavelength. You were just asking what I was in the process of saying. That's just, we're just having telepathy. That's all. When I was going through depression for 2 weeks, I was like, and you know that for me, it's fear that's the cause of it, right? So the pendulum that I was being swung on was no productivity, like zero productivity over on one side. But then it would let up, and then I would get my wind back, right? I would get my fire back. And then I would be like, okay, well, I better get as much done as I can and be as productive as I can be, because I don't know how long this is going to last. And I think, and part of what happens to me on depression, and I think I was openly telling you guys this, I'm an open book. I tell you guys almost everything. That one of the things that I do when I'm depressed is I self-medicate. And I medicate with food. That's my drug, right? Sugar and carbs and that kind of stuff. And I was eating, ice cream and sherbet and Doritos and all that kind of stuff. And so I would gain like 5 pounds over the course of 2 weeks. And I would like go up to 215, 216, right? That's where I am right now, 215, 216. So when the depression let up and my cravings went away, I'd be like, okay, this is my chance, right? No cravings, no, right? I would be like, I would get maybe, and I was waking up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning, sometimes 3 in the morning, depending on when I went to bed. If I went to bed at 9, I would wake up at 3, like 5 hours of sleep. I would wake up bright and bushy-tailed. Oh, sorry, okay. I would get up at 3 and I would get 5 hours of work done before breakfast, 8 o'clock. And breakfast was sometimes no breakfast. Breakfast was sometimes just coffee. And if I down that coffee, then I would go out and I would do some sprinting. I do all this exercise, no breakfast, 1 meal a day, maybe 2 meals a day, or 1 meal and a snack, right? So for a week, I would be hyper productive. I would be hyper exercising, eating all the good things, eating less things, no junk food, no sugar, and like just so intense, dialed up to 11. Everything was just firing on all cylinders. I was a McLaren F1 on a wide open Autobahn. And I would and in a week, I would drop to like 209 pounds. I would drop 6-7 pounds in a week. And I would get all this work done and everything else. And then, boom, on came the depression. Bam. And everything ground to a halt. All my productivity went away. All my self-discipline went away. All my energy gone, right? Because it's now being sucked away from the inside. So I had no energy to go out and run now, right? I had no, and plus, added to that, my shoulder. I'm going in for I finally am biting the bullet. I'm going in for a cortisone shot on Tuesday into my shoulder, because although I got some mobility back in my shoulder, the pain is so bad that I can't do my weights. I can't do my calisthenics training. It's body weight training. It's not like weights. I do bands and body weight training. But in any case, I really enjoy that. That's my main form of exercise, right? You gotta maintain your muscle, because you'll lose it if you don't. And it's it's Attlas. I've got to have a strong body. It's just I need that strength, as above, so below. So I need that as Attlas. But this shoulder has prevented me from doing that, and so that was another thing that was really bugging me, and it's been interfering with my sleep, because I wake up in the middle of the night with stabbing pains, like somebody stabbed me in the shoulder, because I moved my arm a certain way or whatever. Because I'm a bit of a what do you call it? An active sleeper, I guess. I'm a bit of a gymnast in while I sleep. So in any case, I would fall into this depression again, and then bang on with the food, on with the cravings, and all the other nonsense that goes with that. And then it would go for a week, and then it would let up, and then boom, I was back onto the intense. Oh, I gotta get as much done as possible, right? So I was on this crazy pendulum of maxed out 100% hyper efficiency, 12, 14, 16, 18-hour days of and like super lean diet, no sugar, no junk food, no treats, no nothing, no TV, no anything, just 100% focused and concentrated and working. And then I would come grinding to a halt, and then boom, then a week of depression. And I was like on this pendulum. And it finally dawned on me. Oh, yeah, the McLaren F1. Yeah, it's a hypercar. It's a supercar from a few years back. Anyway, yeah, you'll see what I mean when you see it. It finally dawned on me. I live with a house guest. I have a tenant occupying my physical body and my mental body, my emotional body. That thing that I live with is directly responsible for my depression. And what is depression? Depression is subconscious anger. And you see, an entity has to feed. And as you know, as should be clear even from today's presentation, from today's video, it feeds on vital energy. It feeds on consciousness, on psychic energy. But it needs to feed. Now, my mother used to say to me, and she said this like a broken record, my biological mother, the one who passed away from cancer about 6 years ago. She she used to say to me, son, I was never thin. I was always a big boned, chunky girl. Even when she was in high school and she was on the high school basketball team and she was tall, but she was never thin. She was a big boned, tall, strapping Hungarian woman. And I reflected on that, and I was contemplating, meditating on that, and said, I've never been thin either. I've never had like washboard abs, like a flat stomach, not even as a kid. I've always had a bit of a belly. It's like I never lost my baby fat. And people used to make a comment on this. And it didn't matter what I did, exercise, diet, whatever. It's like I could never lose. Didn't matter how much I worked out or so on, right? Leah de Tanacour says she has that too. And it suddenly dawned on me that what if what was driving me to be so hyper disciplined and hyper productive and being so strict on myself, what if that, and I was depriving myself and getting myself, as soon as I got down to 209 pounds, boom, I fell into depression. What if my demon is actually in my belly fat, right? In the gut. I know that that's where I know that my mom's demon, right, was like to hang out in the kidneys in that area. She had kidney cancer. And I know that, fear is one of the, it's a gut thing, right? It's, and what if me depriving it of sugar, because the brain, glucose is the preferred fuel of the brain. Even though they talk about ketones and all this kind of crap, forget about that. I've had a sweet tooth my entire life, and I've been a bread person my entire life, just like my mom. And I think that depriving myself and seeking this hyper productivity and this hyper athleticism and all this kind of stuff, I think, as Leah de Tanacour points out here, I think that the house guest was like, what the hell is this? Where's my sugar? Where's my chocolate? Where's my bread? Tiffany says, visceral fat is said to act as a separate brain. I've studied this in depth. The info is easy to find. Well, that's interesting. Maybe that this is all, related. So it's interesting because once I get back to 215 or roughly thereabouts, my craving for sugar and carbs goes away. My depression goes away. Everything goes away. Maybe that's just my quote ideal weight for me, not for a man my age and my height. No. I'm supposed to be like 205 or under 200, right? According to ideal weight. But if I have a house guest who's doing his own thinking constantly in the subconscious mind, because my mind never shuts up. I know who's thinking there all the time. I can watch it. I can watch him. Then he needs energy. And so maybe he needs to have a certain, fat reserve or whatever to be able to do gluconeogenesis in the body and generate the glucose that he wants when he wants it. And he doesn't like having his fat stores reduced because he is fear. That makes him anxious. That gives him anxiety. But more importantly, it makes him rage like a 2-year-old. Because I eat less and I start exercising more and I cut down on the sugar and I cut down on the carbs, right? And now the 2-year-old starts having a freaking throwing a temper tantrum in the subconscious mind, like a 2-year-old in the grocery store when his mom doesn't buy him the candy that he wants. So this time, when I got back to 215 and the depression went away, I said, this time we're going to do things differently. I'm going to relax. I'm going to take it easy. I'm not going to be pushing myself for hyper productivity and trying to get as much done as possible before the next bout of depression hits me. No. I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to relax. You know what? I'm going to go and buy some ice cream and keep it in the fridge. I don't have any cravings for it. I don't want any right now, but I'm going to keep it there all the same. And I'm going to go ahead and have my breakfast and have my 3 meals a day. Or one big meal and a couple snacks, very light breakfast, maybe a bowl of some salad or some cottage cheese or something late in the afternoon, early evening or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you know what? Damn it, every now and then I am going to put a teaspoon or two of sugar, maybe with some milk or some cream in my coffee in the morning. I'm going to stop drinking it black all the time. Right? Maybe if I can get off this pendulum swinging in these spikes of this, like the spikes going up and down, like what people call yo-yo dieting, it's really what I was experiencing is like the equivalent of yo-yo dieting. Only with me, it came packaged with depression and a complete loss of productivity. So maybe if I round out those peaks and valleys and go for just on the middle road, right? The middle path, the moderation through and through. You know what? Maybe after this live stream, maybe I will go to the store and buy myself a bag of Doritos and sit down in front of the TV, pop in a movie, right? And just relax and say, you know what? You got a lot of work, got a lot of stuff done in time for today. Got a lot, treat yourself, take and don't live in that deprived hyper productivity, hyper disciplined state and don't worry about getting down to 210 or 205 or whatever. Just relax and maintain. If I'm not gaining weight, if I don't end up a week from now or 2 weeks from now, if I don't end up at 220, then I'm fine. I'm okay at 215. It's okay. Right? Maybe I can keep the thing at bay. Maybe I can keep it satisfied and happy and leaving me alone. I might not be hyper productive, but hey, if this week, because I got a lot done. I did. I got an awful lot done. Did I get as much done as I got when I was being hyper productive? No. Did I get at least 50% productivity? Yes, maybe 60%, 70% even. And did I get everything done that I wanted to get done? And the answer is yes. The video for today that I've been promising you guys forever, but I couldn't deliver it because of my weeks that I lost on depression. But in the end, if I can keep this up and I can keep it at bay, and maybe I won't have to go through depression. Maybe I can maintain 60% productivity, but never have to deal with depression. So it all evens out and balances out. But the point is, I will not lose the ability to exercise. I will not lose the ability to be productive, and I won't go on these fits of binging. Right? These feast or famine type thing. So it's just something that, I guess I ended up sharing it with you today. I don't have to do a live stream on it now. But maybe there's something in this, like everybody knows about yo-yo dieting. Everybody knows that yo-yo dieting doesn't work. I think that yo-yo dieting, what people are experiencing when they yo-yo diet, is a lot like what I was experiencing, where they go crazy on the diet and they deprive themselves, and whatever it is psychologically, whatever demons that they have, whatever egos that they have grown accustomed to and depend on and rely on because it's their drug, whatever the foods, the carbs, the sugar, the alcohol, the chocolate, the cake, what, I don't have to list them all. You know when it comes to food, everybody has their own poison, their own preferred foods that they know it's their treat, but it's also their Achilles heel, right? Especially people who are on the yo-yo diets. They can do the willpower thing, and they stretch it and they stretch it and stretch it, and then boom, they fall off the wagon, and then they go on this crazy binge and they gain it all back. I think what they're experiencing is what I'm experiencing. Now I know what I'm experiencing is what I live with. It's my house gas. You don't hear people yo-yo dieters talking about their demon, okay? Because maybe for them they don't have seizures, they don't suffer from depression, they don't, you know what I mean? So they're not cognizant of an entity with that sort of power or control over them. But in that one area of food, it certainly does have that control over them. And that it may be even responsible for pushing them. Like maybe it's pride, right? It's vanity. Oh, I gotta lose weight, I gotta look good. And the anxiety around that, around wanting to look good or needing to lose that weight, it's that stress and anxiety that sends them into that disciplined, intense, deprivation of themselves. And maybe it's the demon behind it, because it knows that eventually her willpower is going to run out, or his willpower is going to run out, and then boom, the demon on the upswing, on the pendulum, then gets to have his way. Because now it's, let's go to the all-you-can-eat buffet, or let's go and buy three pints of ice cream, or let's go and buy a chocolate cake, or let's go and buy 3 bags of Doritos, or let's go and buy a large pizza, or whatever it is, right? And then the demon binges, right? It's very helpful to visualize and contemplate and understand what the demon is and how the demon behaves. It has a behavior. So when you see people behaving a certain way out there in the world, or you yourself see yourself behaving that way, understand that if that's coming through you, well, that's the demon's behavior. It is behaving. You are being done. And it's the demon that's doing you. Right? It's the demon that's the drug addict. Right? It's the demon that's going on the yo-yo diet. Right? Now, the demon is not depressed. The demon is raging. But he's raging, why? Because he's not getting his way. Why does he want his way? Because he wants to control outcomes. Okay. Benjamin says, it's similar to the situation in the Matrix movie where Neo has a parasite inside him, which is ultimately removed by Trinity. It's actually more similar to people who have a tapeworm. Actually, people who have fungal infections and tapeworms and parasites of different kind, they will develop ridiculous cravings for ridiculous things. And really, they're just feeding their tapeworm. They're just feeding the parasite. And having a metaphysical parasite, a demon, is no different. Right? That's why people like ridiculous cravings for, whatever that's psychologically related. It's the psychologists call it psychosomatic. It's not psychosomatic. It's a demon that wants what it wants. Benjamin says, just don't get the little waist, because then come the love handles. Is how I stay in shape. Is how I saw my dad get a belly. Okay, Benjamin, thanks for the tip. Okay. And Tiffany says, oh, People like personal stories. So, have you gathered what you can share? Have you gathered what you can share about your personal upgrade to 3.0? I believe people would like to hear that. If this is still in progress, it'll be good to know what you've mastered for yourself versus the aspects that are still being mastered. It's what I've heard anyway. People like personal stories of triumph. She said it would be good. Tiffany, this is the entire first part of my book. This is part one of my book. So this is why I wrote the book. Okay, I didn't write the book to sell millions of copies and be a New York Times bestseller and hit the road on the marketing circuit, speakers circuit, right? To sell signed copies of my book. No, I wrote the book for this precise reason that you're now bringing up. I wrote the book to be able to give away as the thank you gift for the campaign. And part one of the book is exactly what you're talking about here. That's the entire first part of the book. And there's an entire section of the book in part 2 and part 3 that's the wisdom that I learned, right? The lessons that I learned and the alm of life, the analogous ultimate methodology that I've applied on myself, and where that has gotten me. Well, it's gotten me to the point where I'm not writing this book as I'm writing it as we. And it's not Attila who's writing the book, it's Attlas who's writing this book, right? So this is something that I'm going to be mentioning in the campaign video, because the campaign video where you make your pitch, that's where you talk about the rewards. That's where you talk about the thank you gifts, right? And so that is where I'm going to be mentioning. And as a thank you for giving a 10 for Human 3.0, you will get this book that I wrote that is my own personal testimony to how I made all of this work for me and how I went through the process of upgrading from Human 2.0 to Human 3.0 and the process and so on and so forth, and how it applies on, the exact words aren't coming to me now because I'm going to have to spend time very carefully crafting those words because it's got to fit into a certain time frame, right? 5 minutes, by the way, is basically 1 1/4 pages of text. That's where I've gotten to when I was doing these videos. 1 1/4 page of text is 5 minutes. That's my reading speed. So, but that's definitely in the cards. And she also said, I have to do another parasite cleanse. Autumn is a good time to do that. And she said, okay, then when I promote it, I'll also promote that your personal story is to be shared with the gift you give. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But it's the reason why I wrote the book. Because Human 3.0 is, even though do I mention Human 3.0? I don't think I mentioned Human 3.0 in the book as such, because remember, I wasn't even thinking in terms of Human 3.0 until this summer. But that's okay, right? It just goes to show you that when people read the book, they will see that it's authentic, that it wasn't, when I was writing the book, I didn't know, Attila didn't know that's why we were writing the book. So that's why I made no mention of Human 3.0s. The book is completely authentic and stands alone, right? It's not related in any way, shape, or form, right? I would have written the book anyway, and it would have done a different purpose. It would have come to the world in a different way. But as it stands, it came to the world this way, so that people can read the book and have an extremely authentic experience of it. And but it's related. But it's related because we talk about the alm of life, we talk about upward and downward spirals, we talk about all these other things, and all this stuff that was born out of my direct self-evident experiential knowledge, right? My own experience, which is what you were mentioning. She goes, yes, always. And again, we're excited for you. Well, look, I have faith because everything is falling into place. And this is a journey that I began when I was 5 and began to crystallize with a brand name, Attlas Arts, when I was 15. And that's here, right? Like that's Attlas Conscious Arts. It was just the C that was missing. I always had Attlas Art, but Attlas Arts, and then when I was shown in meditation, and then that was like not too long ago, it was back in on the night of my Good Friday, and I wrote it down, right? And I I have this page. This page has been that's the backside. This page with these scribbles, I woke up when I received all of this in meditation, and I got up and I scribbled down as much of I that I could. And right here is, right, Art and Thor. Is it backwards for you guys? It might be backwards. Anyway, Art, Thor, and Art, Thor, Isis, and just, I keep this page right next to me. It's been next to me since April. And it's been next to me the whole time that I was working on the video, and everything that came to me, Otala, and how Otala relates to Alpha and Omega and the fish and everything else, and the trident. You see that the power of that symbol, right? It's the Pax Romana, it's the Chi Rho. Constantine converted an entire empire to Christianity with the power of that symbol. And with the power of the symbol that I showed you in this presentation. And it's practical, metaphysical, scientific application. Right? It's the power of this. And if you take this and turn it upright, well, you have the tree of life, obviously. And in other versions, I have slides where all these individual layers, they compact, right? All the multiple levers and all the different dimensions are actually all one. They're all interlaced. They're all coincident. And they're all coincident in the 0 point, which is coincident with the absolute. You see, so there's lots that ended on the cutting room floor. But if I'm going to go to 2 10-minute videos, maybe I put a couple of these things back in. And because now I might not be so pressed for time and might not be so, and so maybe I can put a few of these things back in. And I also show, so it only, a few more seconds, 10 seconds here, 15 seconds there. It adds up, but not so much that it's going to like break the bank on any stuff. But this is really potentially powerful stuff if people actually get it, like this part. That is it going? Yeah. Okay. So this part here, right? So that there's a gap. There's a gap that separates us, right? And when the New Agers talk about separation, this is what they're talking about. Now, They talk about it in terms of separation from one another. But this is the separation that's actually taking place. Because we don't connect to other people through this physical thing. We connect it through our higher self. It's like two tips of a root system in a tree, right? Two branches or two leaves. They're not connected because the leaves are mingling with one another. That's not what makes, no, they're separate leaves. What connects them is the tree. So that connection, the leaf has to go introspectively to find their connection to all the other leaves and to the rest of the forest by extension. So if people get this, that this gap is human 3.0, that's what is the bridge, right? The arc and the arch. Like this is huge. And I personally have never seen or heard anyone explain it this simply and show it this simply. All the parts were there, but I've never encountered anything, and certainly not anything that where you have a ubiquitous symbol like this and how it relates. And this symbol is what we began with, humanus in being, right? The triune human being. It's right there from the get-go. Yeah, that's as good as any, right? The triune human being. Those are three chevrons, but they're three triangles. Now, obviously, this relates directly to the tree of life of Kabbalah, but you don't have to say it. There's no reason why people need to have Kabbalah shoved down their throat, especially if they're Christian, because they're not going to take kindly to that. They're going to call that pagan. They're going to call it Jewish. They're going to call it, and people, anybody in Islam, they're certainly not going to take kindly to it, right? Jewish mysticism? No. So, Gnostics, we had to go underground in the past, and we had to do what we did, and we do what we do, but we use what's available to us and what people do know, and what like this, right? And and where is it? If I can get, I just don't have the resolution on this there. Okay, well, that's good, as good as any, right? The Bluetooth connection. That's the same symbol. So this is, you guys know this about me. My scripture is the book of Thoth. It's the book of Hermes Trismegistus, which is all around us and within us. That's when people talk about the book of Thoth, I've told you this many times, the book of Thoth was never written down. The emerald tablets of Thoth aside, right? The book of Thoth was never a physical book. And so, without saying that, without going into the details of that, you see in this presentation more examples of the logos speaking to us, that somebody somewhere was inspired to pick this logo for what connects all those different devices and allows people to function and operate together, allows all those machines to come together and work together on the same network and speak the same language, and connections between machines. They were inspired to use this logo. And then you compare that logo to the Cairo, the Pax Romana, and you say, my God, it's the same. It's the same logo. It's just shifted. It's the same symbol. This has the same power. That's not an accident. Now, I don't come out and say this. I don't think I have to say it. I just rather show it. Just there it is. Plant a seed. That's all that this video is doing, is planting seeds, to be honest with you. That's all it's intended to do. Just plant seeds. See where it goes. Because that's all that any messenger can do. All we can do is plant a seed. There's nothing else we can do. And nothing else we should try to do. I'm not here to force anything down anybody's throat. And I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Especially anybody that doesn't want to be convinced of anything. It's the last thing I want to do. I'm not here to change minds. And I'm not here to change hearts. I'm here to plant seeds. And what fruit comes of those seeds, that's not up to me. That's up to them. Like it's up to you. It's up to everybody else. That's not my job. I'm just a messenger. Right? I'm here to show. The show must go on, but that's all I'm here to do. I'm just a 51-year-old playing show and tell. That's it. That's it. Tiffany says that she's excited, and that excellent seed planting, as you covered many concepts that point to the same thing. Leah says blessings. Well, listen, thank you all for spending this time and listening to me jibber jabber for 3 hours now on topics that might not necessarily be of interest for you, like rubber meets the road, business, freaking crowdfunding campaign strategies, and how to reach out to people, and blah, blah, blah. Like that might not be why you're here, but I appreciate you sticking around. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate all the feedback. Some of it was very valuable indeed. And I intend to follow up on it. And I intend to take individually and as a whole everything, and also some of the insights that just came out of the discussion, right? Questions and answers, and so on and so forth. And I'm confident that the next iteration of this will be that much more poignant, powerful, meaningful, and effective at planting those seeds. Leah says, thank you, Attlas. Grateful for you. Grateful for you, Leah, for being here, and grateful to all of you, again, for being here, for sharing this time, and for offering your feedback, and for being here for me, because let's face it, I don't have a huge, I don't have a huge network of people that I have around me that can offer feedback and actually understand and discuss the deeper levels what this is all about. And so, having you here and knowing that you all hope and pray for the success of this endeavor, and it's like I feel like I have people who have my back, so to speak, right? And it doesn't take, it doesn't take many of us. It doesn't, Jesus had 12 disciples, right? So it's, we have 11, 12 people watching today, give or take. So, I'm not on YouTube to be a content creator and have hundreds of thousands of followers, and right, that's not why I'm here. And I'm not here to monetize this channel and make money that way. And so, you're right. But having said that, we have to be practical and we have to, right? So that's why the campaign and everything that has unfolded is unfolding that way, right? Because I can't be a content creator. I can't churn out content. That's not a messenger. Imagine a messenger who had to hand a letter every day to the king. A messenger that had to deliver because the king demanded a message every single morning. Imagine the stress that would put on the messenger when nobody was sending him messages. Nobody was sending the king messages. The messenger would have to make shit up, or he would have to steal messages from somebody else. He would have to open up other people's letters and like copy their messages and pretend like it was, and then, forge letters and sign them from fake people or whatever, and give them to the king because the king expects it. Because the machine of content must be fed. I'm not here to feed any machines. And so I'm never going to have, I don't care about monetizing the channel and all that kind of stuff. I've never been worried about that. I've never been concerned about that because that's not what I'm here for. Right? I cannot have the machine, the big machine held over my head like a storm cloud, right? You got to churn out the content. You got to churn out the if it doesn't come to me, I don't make it. If it doesn't come to me, I don't write it. Period. Look how long it's been since the last time I wrote a blog article. Or the last time I made, a video or whatever. I started making these short snippets from the live streams, but even that I was told to stop doing that. I was told to stop doing this. I was told you don't need to do that. It was taking so much time and energy to make those short little videos. Now, some of them are really good. Some people found them really valuable, but the number of people who watched them and found they were valuable were very, very, very small because I don't have a big channel, and I thought that maybe I could increase the number of people who watch a channel, but really did nothing to increase the numbers. Even if I made shorts, I did all kinds of stuff. It took me an entire week. My entire week was spent working on that. And that's what I was told to stop doing that. I needed to start working on this video instead. Tiffany says, I actually miss your blog writings. Well, you know what? Once this whole campaign and everything gets done and out of the way, there will be more content forthcoming. I hate calling it that. There will be more articles and stuff like that in the future. But again, my feeling is that it's more likely that eventually they're going to be books. But like I did the last time, I see no reason why I can't, when I work on a chapter, right? Write a chapter, finish one idea, to post it as a blog article. Because that's basically the book that I wrote was basically a lot of the content was pulled right from my blog. So the book that I have that I wrote, I compiled it, took me a year to compile. That was really 10 years in the making. It was 10 years worth of writing, and then a whole bunch of new stuff, right? So I will get back to it. It's just that, we have the campaign. But Tiffany says, well, I'm a cheerleader for your mission, even though I come with many questions. And Benjamin says, thanks, Atlas. Was great experience. Good luck with the campaign. Thank you, Benjamin. Well, you guys will hear more about it before the day comes. So thank you all. Thank you all again for being here today. If you have any more questions, I'll give you a minute or so to type away. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing everybody next week. And of course, you guys follow me on Facebook and you follow YouTube and whatnot. So it may be that we wait until next week to unveil the new version, or it may be that if the new version is ready, that I just go ahead and publish it online. And I'll let you guys know as best I can that it's there. And in case you miss it, you'll find out next week if that was the case. But so all the best to you. I hope you have a great week ahead. And hopefully some of the craziness that was happening in August and Mercury retrograde and all that stuff is behind us. Hopefully there won't be anything too crazy happening in the United States with this crazy election and everything else, and elsewhere around the world, France and other places where unrest is beginning to bubble up to the surface because people are just getting fed up and they're saying enough is enough. Let's hope that cooler minds prevail and that violence and destruction and mayhem is kept to a minimum. Let's put it that way. And then we'll see you all next week. Tiffany says, "Thank you, brother. Great job. I can only fathom what it took getting this together today." Well, it is what it is, and it's what I live for. It's what it's what I was born to do. So I'm gonna keep doing it. And I mean, this is my job. This is my work. It doesn't pay well, but this is my work. Oh, JR Malik 574 says, "How are you guys?" We're good, JR Malik. We're just about to sign off here. Thanks for joining us, though, and thanks for chiming in. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. If there's no more questions or comments, I don't see anybody typing away. So have a great week. All the best to you and yours, and stay safe. And as always, inferential peace. Take care, everyone, and see you next week. Bye-bye.